Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan. Whether you're on your way to work, sipping chai at home, or just taking a break, thanks for tuning in to Speak Up. Today's episode is something I'm really excited about because we're diving into the kind of English that helps you sound truly fluent. Not textbook fluent, but real-life fluent.
Hi friends, I'm Priya, and I totally get it. So many learners know grammar and vocabulary, but still struggle to sound natural. That's where advanced expressions come in. They're like the secret sauce to sounding confident, smooth, and more like a native speaker.
Exactly. And the best part? You don't need a fancy degree or a British accent to sound fluent. You just need the right phrases and to know how to use them in everyday situations. We'll keep everything simple, practical, and fun, like always.
And don't worry, we'll explain each expression in a way that actually makes sense. No complicated rules or boring definitions, just real English for real people. So grab a notebook or just relax and listen. Let's get started.
All right, so now that we've set the tone for today's episode, let's talk about something important. What does fluent English really mean? A lot of people think it's just about speaking fast or using big words, but that's not true. Fluency is more about the flow of your speech. It's how naturally you speak, how easily you connect your thoughts, and how comfortable you sound. You might know 100 grammar rules, but if you pause too much or sound unsure, it won't feel fluent to the listener.
Exactly. I've met so many learners who know the grammar perfectly, even have a good vocabulary. But when they speak, it sounds a bit mechanical. And that's totally normal, by the way. What makes someone sound fluent is not just correctness, but confidence and rhythm. And one of the biggest parts of that rhythm, it's using the kinds of expressions that native speakers use every day. Those expressions help your speech sound more natural, more relaxed, and more like a real conversation.
Right, and here's the cool part. You don't need to memorize 100 idioms or sound like a movie actor. Just adding a few natural expressions to your speaking style can make a huge difference. Think about how we talk with friends. We don't say, "I am very tired." We say, "I'm worn out," or "I'm beat." These small changes can instantly upgrade your English and make you sound like someone who really gets the language, not just studies it.
Yes, and I think this is where many learners get stuck. They learn English in school, mostly with textbooks, and those books don't really teach you how real people talk. But the truth is, fluent speakers use certain phrases all the time without even realizing it. And once you start noticing and using those phrases yourself, you'll feel a big shift in how you speak. It'll feel smoother, more automatic, and less stressful.
And let's be honest, that's what most of us want, right? To stop overthinking every word and just speak. That's what fluency is. It's when speaking English feels more like a habit than a task. It doesn't mean perfect grammar, and it doesn't mean having a fancy accent. It means being able to express yourself comfortably, clearly, and confidently.
Exactly. And the best way to get there? Start small. Start by learning a few advanced, real-world expressions and use them in your daily conversations, just like you'd use your native language. We're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for connection. And trust me, these expressions can help you connect with people in a much more natural way.
Now that we've understood what makes English sound fluent, let's talk about the kind of advanced English expressions you'll actually hear in real conversations. These are not just fancy phrases. They're the ones native speakers use casually every single day. Take this one. At the end of the day. You hear it everywhere. It doesn't mean nighttime. It's a way to sum up a situation or decision. Like, at the end of the day, we all want to be happy. It's simple, but powerful, and it makes your speech sound much more natural.
Oh yes, that one is super common. Another great daily English phrase is out of the blue. It means something happens suddenly or unexpectedly. Imagine you're sitting at work and your old school friend calls you after 10 years. You'd say, "She called me out of the blue." It adds color and emotion to your story, instead of just saying, "She called me suddenly." And that's the thing. These kinds of expressions make conversations more interesting and human.
Totally. And here's another one I love. Hit the nail on the head. It means you described something exactly right. Let's say your teammate explains why a project failed and you agree completely. You might say, "You hit the nail on the head." "We didn't plan well." It sounds much stronger than just saying, "You're right." These advanced English expressions are what help you speak with impact, and they fit perfectly in both casual chats and professional conversations.
Yes, and they're not just for showing off, they're for connection. These are the kinds of phrases you hear in coffee shops, office meetings, or even WhatsApp voice notes. If your English sounds too plain, people may understand you, but it won't feel natural. Expressions like these bring your language to life. Plus, they're easy to use once you understand what they mean and how they fit into daily English phrases.
Exactly. You don't need to memorize a list of complicated idioms. Just take 3 or 4 of these common ones and try using them this week, maybe in a conversation with a friend or during a meeting. You'll notice how people respond and how much more confident you feel. It's like adding seasoning to food. It just tastes better. Advanced expressions work the same way for your English.
Couldn't agree more. And the best part? These aren't textbook phrases. They're real-life, flexible, and they fit in many situations. You don't need to think hard. Just listen to how native speakers use them and try to mirror that. Over time, they'll become part of your speaking style naturally. That's how fluency grows, one solid phrase at a time.
Now that we've seen how daily English phrases make your conversation smoother, let's talk about something just as important: how to sound confident and clear. When you're speaking English, especially in group settings like meetings or presentations, certain phrases can really boost how people see you. Take this one, "Let's get the ball rolling." It simply means "let's start," but it sounds much more professional and fluent. Imagine you're in a team meeting. You can say, "All right, everyone, let's get the ball rolling with today's agenda." It sets a positive tone and makes you sound in control.
Absolutely, and I love how natural that sounds. Another one you'll hear a lot in discussions is, "I'm on the same page." This is a polite, clear way to show agreement. Instead of just saying yes or "I agree," you can say, "Don't worry, I'm on the same page." It works great when you're talking to your manager, a client, or even a classmate. These kinds of confident expressions help you connect better and sound like a fluent English speaker, not someone who's just translating from their native language.
Exactly. And here's one more that's super useful, especially when you're explaining something. To make a long story short, let's say you're giving a presentation and you want to skip some boring details. You'd say, "To make a long story short, the project was delayed due to budget issues." Simple, right? This phrase shows you're organized and respectful of people's time. And that's a big part of fluent English for speaking, knowing when to keep things short and clear.
Yes, and these expressions are super helpful in real life. Think about interviews or group discussions. You want to come across as someone who communicates well. Saying, "Let's get the ball rolling," or "I'm on the same page with you," just adds a layer of polish to your speaking. You don't sound like you're just answering questions. You sound like you're leading the conversation. That's real confidence.
And the best part is, you don't need to memorize 20 different phrases. Just practice using a few of them naturally. Maybe start with one expression a day. Try saying, "To make a long story short," when you're talking to a friend or a coworker. The more you use them, the more automatic they become. That's how real fluency builds, not through big jumps, but with small, consistent upgrades.
I totally agree. So if you're someone who wants to speak English more fluently, especially in group settings, these are the tools that help you shine. They show people that you're not just speaking English, you're owning it. And that confidence, it's contagious. Others will notice and you'll feel the difference too.
So now that we've covered confident expressions, let's get into something that really makes your English sound natural: idiomatic phrases. These are the kinds of expressions native speakers use all the time without even thinking. One common idiom is "bite the bullet." It means doing something tough even when you don't want to. For example, "I hate going to the dentist, but I had to bite the bullet and make the appointment." You hear this in daily life, from work situations to personal ones. It adds emotion and depth to your speech.
Oh yes, I use that one when I have to deal with paperwork or boring tasks. I guess I'll just bite the bullet and finish it. Another great one is break the ice. It means starting a conversation when things feel awkward or quiet. Imagine you're at a new job and no one's talking. You could say, "So, do you guys also drink way too much coffee here?" That little joke helps break the ice. These idioms help people open up and they make you sound like you've been speaking English forever.
That's a good one.
And here's another powerful idiom: throw in the towel. It comes from boxing, but it just means giving up. You might say, I tried learning to cook French food, but after burning everything, I threw in the towel. It's fun, it's visual, and it shows frustration in a natural way. These expressions add personality to your sentences, and they connect with people instantly. You don't just sound like a learner, you sound real, relatable.
Yes, and what's great is that people react positively when they hear these. Let's say you're at a party and it's awkward at first. You could break the ice by asking something light or funny. Or imagine your coworker says they're scared of giving a presentation. You can tell them, come on, just bite the bullet and get it over with.
These are the kind of expressions that make your conversations feel alive, not robotic or memorized.
Right, and that's what we want to help you do. Make your English feel alive. Idioms are all over music, movies, even memes. And using them in everyday conversations helps your fluency grow naturally. You're not just translating in your head anymore. You're thinking in English. That's the real goal. So next time you feel like giving up, don't throw in the towel on your English practice. Use these expressions instead.
Exactly. And here's a tip. Choose one idiom you like and find ways to use it that day. Maybe it's break the ice or bite the bullet. The more you play with it in your real conversations, even just in your head, the easier it gets. These idioms are like shortcuts to sounding natural, and once you start using them, you'll never want to stop. All right. Now that we've explored some idioms that make conversations come alive, let's shift gears a little. Let's talk about how to express your opinions fluently, especially in group discussions, interviews, or debates. One advanced phrase I often use is "from my perspective." It sounds polished and helps frame your view in a respectful way. Like in a job interview, instead of jumping straight into your point, you might say, "From my perspective, teamwork is just as important as technical skills." It sets the tone and shows you're confident but polite.
I totally agree. Another useful phrase is, if you ask me. It's friendly, casual, and still fluent. Say you're having a debate about whether remote work is better. You could say, if you ask me, working from home saves time and boosts productivity. It gives your sentence a relaxed but thoughtful touch. And you can use it everywhere, at work, with friends, or even in class discussions. These expressions help you sound more natural and sure of yourself when sharing thoughts.
Exactly. And here's one more I love. I couldn't agree more. It's such a smooth way to agree strongly with someone. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone says, "We need to improve our customer service." Instead of just saying yes, you can say, "I couldn't agree more. It's crucial for our growth." These phrases are more than just words. They show your confidence and your command over the language.
Right. And these work perfectly in formal settings too. Let's say you're in an interview and the manager says, "We value open communication." You can respond, "I couldn't agree more. It builds trust and efficiency." That sounds way better than just nodding. Or even in everyday life, when friends are discussing movies or news, saying, "from my perspective," makes you sound thoughtful and well-spoken.
And they help keep the conversation flowing. For example, during a team presentation, you can say, "If you ask me, the real challenge is time management." It shows you're contributing without sounding aggressive or off-topic. These expressions are like conversation tools. They help you add ideas smoothly, especially when English isn't your first language. That's key to advanced speaking.
Absolutely. And the best part is, you can practice these today. Next time you're talking with a colleague or even commenting on a YouTube video, try saying, "from my perspective," or "I couldn't agree more." You'll notice people respond better and your fluency will improve. These expressions help your ideas stand out, but in a clear, respectful way.
Now that we've got a solid grip on how to express opinions naturally, let's move into the world of business and workplace English. This is where things can feel a bit tricky, especially if you're new to office settings or corporate culture. One of the most common phrases you'll hear is "think outside the box." It basically means be creative, look for new ideas. So if your manager says, "Let's think outside the box on this campaign," they want you to go beyond the usual ideas. It's a compliment when someone tells you that. You're seen as innovative.
Oh, yes. And another one that comes up a lot in business emails or quick meetings is touch base. It just means checking in or having a quick follow-up. Like someone might say, let's touch base tomorrow about the client presentation. It sounds professional but still friendly. Instead of saying, let's talk later, using touch base shows you know how workplace English really flows. It's one of those soft skills that helps you fit in better with your team.
Exactly. And here's one more you'll definitely hear. Take it offline. Now, it has nothing to do with the internet. It means let's talk about this privately later. Like in a meeting, if two people start going off topic, someone might say, let's take that offline and continue after the call. It keeps the meeting on track while still addressing the issue later. It's a polite way to manage time and priorities. And knowing this phrase can really help you sound like a fluent English speaker at work.
I totally agree. What I love about these expressions is they help you sound more natural and efficient in the workplace. Let's say you're writing an email. You could say, I'd love to touch base this week regarding our project timeline, instead of just, can we talk? It adds a layer of professionalism, but it's still simple English. You don't need fancy words, just the right expressions that fit the situation.
And when you're working with international teams or clients, knowing these phrases really builds trust. Like if someone says, let's think outside the box, and you respond with something creative, they'll see you as a problem solver. Or if you say, let's take that offline during a busy meeting, it shows you're being respectful of everyone's time. These are the moments that really showcase your workplace fluency.
Exactly. And the great part is, these aren't hard to use. Just notice when native speakers use them and start slipping them into your own conversations. Try saying, let's touch base Friday. Or can we take this offline in your next office chat, or even in an email? It's all about sounding natural and professional, and these expressions really help get you there.
Now that we've explored how to sound confident and fluent at work, let's talk about how to make your conversations flow smoothly, especially when you're telling stories or sharing experiences. One expression I love using is speaking of which. It's a great way to switch topics without sounding awkward. For example, I might say, I watched this amazing movie last night. Speaking of which, have you seen the new show on Netflix? It feels natural and it keeps the conversation connected. It's small phrases like this that help you sound fluent, not just correct.
Exactly. And when you're telling a personal story or sharing a memory, a great phrase to use is back in the day. It's perfect for talking about the past in a casual, friendly way. I often say things like, back in the day, we didn't have smartphones. We actually used to call people from landlines. It adds a bit of nostalgia and sets the tone for a story. Whether you're talking to friends or colleagues, this phrase makes your English sound more relaxed and real.
Totally. And here's another fun one. It turns out. This one adds a twist or surprise to your story. For example, I thought the meeting was canceled, but it turns out it was just moved to a different room. It helps the listener stay interested because they're waiting to hear what happened. You'll often hear this in casual conversations or even in podcasts and interviews. It's a great phrase that makes your storytelling more engaging and natural.
Yes, and I think the best part is, these expressions don't require advanced grammar or complex words. They're just smart ways to connect your thoughts. For instance, if someone's telling you about a holiday they took, you can jump in with, speaking of which, I've always wanted to visit that place. You're not interrupting, you're continuing the flow in a fluent, confident way.
And when you want to sound more like a native speaker, these expressions are gold. Back in the day is one that always gets a smile. Like, back in the day, we had to carry huge dictionaries around to learn English. Now it's all on your phone. These phrases help your stories come alive. They give your English personality, not just accuracy.
Exactly. And it turns out is such a useful one when you're explaining something unexpected. I once said, I thought I failed the test, but it turns out I got the highest score in the class. It creates a little suspense and keeps your listener curious. Using these kinds of expressions not only improves your English, but also your storytelling power, which is a huge part of fluent communication.
Finally, let's talk about how you can actually master these advanced expressions naturally in your daily life. We've gone through so many useful phrases, but just knowing them isn't enough, right? The key is to practice without just memorizing. Instead of trying to cram a list of expressions, try using them in simple, real ways. For example, you can send voice notes to a friend or record yourself using these phrases in short sentences. It's like practicing speaking, but in a relaxed, low-pressure way.
That's such a good point, Ryan. Another great way is journaling, writing a few sentences or even a paragraph every day using the expressions you've learned. Don't worry about getting it perfect. The goal is to get comfortable with how these phrases feel. It's different from translating word for word from your language. When you start to feel the phrase, like it's part of how you naturally speak, that's when real progress happens. It's about thinking in English, not translating from your native language.
Yes, and partner practice works wonders too. Find a language buddy or a tutor and try using 1 or 2 expressions each day in your conversations. You'll get feedback and it makes learning more fun and interactive. Over time, these phrases won't feel like something you have to remember. They'll just pop out naturally when you speak. That's the magic of practicing in real life, not just studying.
And don't forget, improving your spoken English is a journey. Some days will be easier than others, but the key is consistency. Using these advanced expressions bit by bit will boost your confidence and help your English sound more fluent and natural. Remember, it's about communication, not perfection. Every time you use a new phrase, you're stepping closer to sounding like a native speaker.
Exactly. So thank you so much for spending this time with us on Speak Up. We hope these 18 advanced English expressions and our tips help you speak more fluently and confidently every day. Keep practicing, stay curious, and don't be afraid to try new expressions in your conversations.
Thanks a lot, everyone. We really appreciate you listening, and we can't wait to share more fun and practical English learning tips with you next time. Until then, keep speaking up and keep growing your English skills. Bye for now.